Teen flash mob robberies now are on the rise. Police say teens are organizing online. They pick a time and a place and they go to a store, they take everything they want, and then they leave before security catches them. Here's a video of a flash rob in a DC clothing store. And in Vegas, you see teens pushing their way into a convenience store. Shops on the Magnificent Mile of Chicago have been targeted multiple times. In a recent survey, 95% of the 125 retailers polled said that they have been victims of organized crime like this in the last year. Then, this weekend, White House Communications Director Dan Pfeiffer was booed at the Netroots conference. Even the administration's socialist friends are turning on them. That works to the advantage of anybody who wants to fundamentally transform the system. So what do? Well, the governments need to be reset. They do. It's unsustainable. It doesn't work. So do we just, as people, go out in the street, march, and just hope that freedom will reign after the government resets? Or do we pause for a second and make sure that we ourselves are worthy and capable of freedom? Freedom hasn't taken root in Iraq or Afghanistan. We hoped that it would. I did. But it hasn't. Why? Because it's not part of the culture, freedom. The freedom that we experience here in America, uniquely an American idea. Because of these two words, under God. Our children are being taught, well, the flash mob kids, they don't see owners, the owners of these stores, as people. What does it matter if they just take what they deserve from the evil rich store owners? It won't hurt them. Yes, it will. But that's the demonization of the greedy capitalists. But who's really being hurt? The individual store owner? The convenience store guy? Just trying to earn a decent living, worked hard his whole life just to be able to open up a shop? They're dehumanizing people, the people of the store, the owners. And the left is doing an amazing job of dehumanizing anyone who is successful or anyone who stands in their way. But these teens think it's okay to take what they want and do what they want. But it's not. In a civilized society, even if you're in desperate straits, you don't hurt others. You don't steal from others. You don't destroy others to pull yourself up. We don't have that right. Never have. We don't have the right to hurt other people. To be free is a choice. But it is the hardest of all choices because it requires responsibility. To really be free, to be a moral and just person, sucks. It sucks. Because it's not easy to do it. But I believe that's where the Americans come in. We have always done the job that the rest of the world didn't want to do. We have always done the job that the rest of the world thought was impossible. And I believe we'll do it again. I want to ask you, not as a TV personality, I want to ask you as a dad, as a citizen, to do your country a favor. I'll begin to explain that next. Have you ever heard of the Global Crop Diversity Trust? Is better known as the group that operates that seed vault that most people in the world don't even know about. It's a fascinating story. The vault is built into a snow-covered mountain off Norway near the Arctic Circle. And it is quite an amazing place. It was set up to protect crop diversity. Now, they did this in case something disastrous happens on Earth. My first thought here is, wait a minute, that sounds like somebody's preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. What fearmongers? The seed vault can hold up to 4.5 million seeds. Now, I find this interesting because the global community is busy creating hybrid seeds. Look what's happening right in our own backyard. While we're creating these hybrid seeds, we have lost over 14,900 varieties of apples in the U.S., and that's in the last 100 years. 100 years ago, there were more than 15,000 apple varieties here in our country. Now, 11. Not 11,000, 11 show up on the supermarket shelves. 11. From 15,000 to 11. Now that is an actual change in the climate of a basic food item. But nobody seems to care. But raise the temperature by 0.7 degrees over the same 100 years and the sky is falling. Shut down industry. Destroy the combustion engine. Stop capitalism. Another weird occurrence that is happening are the bees. The bees are dying out. 4 species of bees have been basically wiped out in the past 20 years. Nobody knows why. I don't have any idea. Maybe we're messing with Mother Nature. I have no idea. Nobody knows. So we built this UN seed vault with a seed from everything that we can find in the world. It's kind of like a Noah's Ark of seeds. Who spent the money? Why? What are they doing? It's not global warming crap, because I mean, if it's 100, you know, if it's 5 degrees hotter around the world, you can't grow any of that stuff because it'll be too warm, right? I'm not going to ask you to collect seeds. But I am going to ask you to think about that seed vault for the next 3 minutes and think about what it is that it does. What is its purpose? And then I'm going to ask you to do something when we return. This summer I have homework for you. I told you a minute ago, I want you to think of that seed vault. What is the point of that seed vault? It is to restart things in case there was a catastrophic failure of some sort. Well, what do we have? You know, we have in the National Archives, we used to, they won't verify that this is the way we do it anymore, but it used to be that those documents at the National Archives, the Declaration of Independence, they were sitting up like this, and you'd come into the National Archives and you'd see them. But because of what we used to have with the Soviet Union, we were afraid of a ground zero hit, and those documents would fall back and shoot down under the ground, and a giant vault door would close over them. It was said that we had everything to restart our society in that vault within a fraction of a second. What do we have now, really? Because I don't think that vault it's not going to turn into Planet of the Apes, guys. I mean, life goes on. We have to plant the seeds of freedom, not buried someplace, but in our hearts and in our minds and in our children. I know you're probably already doing that, but I think it's time to redouble the efforts. I think things are beginning to come undone, and so we have to double our efforts. Here's what I want you to do this summer. I want you to read history, and there's specific things that I want you to do, and I'm going to have, if you go to glennbeck.com, I will have specific things that you can read and groups that you can join. I want you to go to glennbeck.com and sign up for our free email newsletter or whatever you have to do, but find it. Reach out to your friends. I want you to read history. I want you to read about somebody you admire. Find that person that you think you can be like in history. It doesn't have to be the founders or anybody else. Who is it? Find out somebody that you think, man, I cannot believe the way this guy lives his life. I could never be that. And stop saying that. Accept it. And then try to be like him. This is my guy, George Washington. Stop trying so hard is the fourth one. Stop trying to convince that person in your family you're never going to convince. They're never going to give up. Give up. Surrender. It's not giving up on the idea or anything. It's just they're not going to come. That's okay. Move on. Move on. Surrender to them and start being more proactive in your own community. Tighten that circle a bit. Plan to think outside of the box. Ask people to join a committee of friends and family with different skills. I have no idea how to grow my own food. I have no idea. We're starving to death if I'm the farmer. Starving to death. If I'm the military guy, starving to death. And then being robbed and being killed. Have to make clothes, can't do it. I have to tell you, the only thing I'm good for, I'm the first guy eaten. I really am. I mean, I'm a little fatty, but probably have a lot of flavor. I have no usable skills in the real world. None. I don't know how to repair an engine. Do you? You need to be. You need to be able to repair things. We need to be truly self-sufficient. And then we need to link arms with our neighbors. I'm not saying you need to be a seed vault, but I'm not saying that either. I don't think it would hurt to have a few seeds in storage someplace. I mean, the UN doesn't think so. Why would we? How many people are even prepared for a financial emergency? This is something that I talked about when TARP happened. I said they are preparing. How many years ago was that? 3? They are preparing. What are you doing? Only 24% of consumers have recommended cushions of at least 6 months' expenses set aside. Most people at this point can't afford to put more aside. So what can you do? Will you can this summer? I asked you that last summer. Is it becoming more clear to anyone in your circle that that's not such a crazy idea? I read someplace today, again, another economist said, if we have one more problem with the farms, the whole thing could collapse. And I'm like, really? I thought you said that like 6 months ago. And it's no longer a Freddie and Fannie size problem. Is it so unreasonable to believe that when mobs stoked up by Marxists, they'll be sent to take farms because people are hungry and they can't afford food? I don't think it is, if you're a student of history and you read history. Look what happened in Russia, 1919, 1920. For that matter, look anywhere. Look at Zimbabwe under Robert Mugabe. Farms were destroyed. More than 200 white farmers were targeted and beaten. And we're talking about this happening in the last decade. Somebody needs to be there. Somebody needs to be there with skills. And we're not going to be able to relearn all of these skills and be able to have all of this knowledge ourselves. We have to be able to be a vault ourselves to make sure that American ideas and the ideals, our culture, continue under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That brings us to this point where we started the episode today. The final episode is now 8 shows away. Today, we covered this a little bit. Food prices, solutions. Food prices, store, grow, can. Do what you have to do. Don't listen to anybody else. Energy prices, that's tomorrow. Tomorrow we have energy executives here who say they're under attack by the EPA over regulation by the White House is forcing them to make the tough decisions of layoffs, plant closures, and your energy prices will necessarily skyrocket. What to do. And then jobs. College? Really? College students and recent graduates who are looking for new opportunities of the traditional job market is out. That's Wednesday from New York. Good night, America.